Do you recall when bacon drippings sat ready on every stovetop? Housewives of the 1950s mastered culinary shortcuts that conserved both time and money while transforming basic ingredients into magic. Today, we're uncovering 25 clever cooking methods that have nearly disappeared from modern kitchens. Let's begin with whipped evaporated milk cream. During the 1950s, real whipped cream remained beyond reach for most households. However, creative housewives found a genius alternative. By refrigerating evaporated milk overnight and then beating it vigorously, they produced light, firm peaks that stayed beautiful on desserts and pies. The secret lay in proper chilling. Many women pre-chilled their bowls and beaters in the freezer beforehand. Adding a spoonful of lemon juice provided extra firmness and pleasant tartness. This imitation cream cost far less than dairy cream and stayed fresh longer. Throughout wartime, this method gained such popularity that evaporated milk manufacturers included whipping directions directly on their packaging. Modern cooks seldom consider this budget-friendly alternative. Soup can casseroles. The 1950s introduced convenience cooking with condensed cream soups serving as the perfect casserole foundation. Campbell's cream of mushroom became the wonder ingredient that could convert leftover poultry, fish, or produce into a rich family meal. Housewives learned that combining one soup can with milk or stock could bind 4 cups of ingredients into a unified dish. The genius was its straightforwardness. No need for complicated white sauce preparation when the soup delivered instant richness and taste. Green bean bake, tuna noodle dish, and King Ranch chicken all originated from this period. These meals assembled quickly and baked while Mother handled other duties. The soup can approach meant even inexperienced cooks achieved consistent outcomes every time. Modern home cooks frequently bypass this efficient method for homemade sauces. Bacon grease jar on the stove. That pottery crock or recycled coffee container beside the burner wasn't mere decoration. It held culinary treasure. Every bacon strip cooked added to this valuable cooking fat collection. Clever housewives filtered the hot drippings through cheesecloth to eliminate particles, producing pure fat that enhanced numerous recipes. A dollop in the pan before cooking eggs delivered remarkable flavor. String beans cooked with bacon fat became vegetables children eagerly consumed. Cornbread made with a spoonful of drippings developed a golden, flavorful exterior. The grease container represented both economy and taste, converting what we now throw away into an essential ingredient. Correctly stored drippings remained good for weeks at room temperature. During rationing periods, this preserved fat grew even more precious. Some households inherited their grease jars across generations, the pottery enriched by years of use. Health-focused modern cooks overlook this outstanding flavor builder. Meatloaf panade trick. The key to succulent, moist meatloaf wasn't additional meat. It was the panade. This French method of soaking bread in milk before incorporating it into ground meat converted dry, tough loaves into tender family meals. Housewives found that 2 white bread slices torn into bits and moistened with half a cup of milk could extend 1 pound of meat to serve 6 people. The milk-dampened bread produced a smooth consistency while maintaining remarkable moisture during cooking. Some cooks substituted crushed saltines or rolled oats, each contributing unique texture. The panade also bound the loaf without creating density. This method succeeded because the starch captured and held moisture that would otherwise evaporate. Depression-era cooks mastered this approach when meat was limited and costly. Current meatloaf recipes frequently omit this vital step, producing drier, denser loaves that fall apart when cut. Pressure cooker pot roast. Before slow cookers appeared, the pressure cooker dominated for converting tough meat into fork-tender dishes. A 3-pound chuck roast, requiring normally 4 hours to braise, became incredibly soft in merely 45 minutes under pressure. The sealed chamber trapped vapor, elevating temperature beyond boiling and rapidly dissolving tough connective tissue. Housewives memorized precise timing: 15 minutes per pound for beef, shorter for pork. The true wonder occurred with economical cuts, like round steak or shoulder roasts that typically needed hours of simmering. Produce added during final minutes emerged perfectly cooked, saturated with meat essence. The pressure cooker also retained nutrients better than extended simmering. Safety came first. These stovetop versions had weighted controls that jiggled consistently when at correct pressure. By the 1970s, electric slow cookers mostly displaced them, though modern pressure cooking is resurging with electric versions. Savory Jell-O salads. Currently, they appear strange, but molded gelatin dishes represented 1950s elegance. Knox plain gelatin, or flavored Jell-O, became the foundation for elaborate presentations featuring produce, shellfish, and mayonnaise. The perfection salad with shredded cabbage and carrots floating in lemon gel graced every gathering. Tomato aspic topped with shrimp demonstrated cooking prowess. These weren't sweets, but authentic salads frequently presented on lettuce with mayonnaise. The attraction was appearance. Components suspended like gems in transparent or brilliantly tinted gel. Forms came in fancy designs, from rings to fish shapes. Assembly demanded exact timing and temperature management. Too warm and contents dropped. Too cold and sections wouldn't bond. Electric refrigerators enabled these creations for typical homes. The fashion declined as fresh produce became accessible all year and preferences evolved. That's correct. Folks genuinely adored these sparkling presentations. Coffee can brown bread. New England brown bread traditionally needed special steaming containers, but clever cooks found clean coffee cans worked ideally. The 1-pound can dimension provided perfect portion sizes, while the metal distributed heat uniformly for proper steaming. Housewives combined cornmeal, whole wheat flour, and molasses into thick batter, frequently including raisins. The filled containers went into a big pot with an inch of bubbling water covered securely to capture steam. After 2 hours, compact, moist cylinders of bread appeared, ready to slice into ideal rounds. The coffee can approach made this local delicacy available everywhere. Some bakers retained the plastic tops to seal remaining portions. The bread lasted for days and actually enhanced in taste. Served heated with butter or cream cheese, it provided substantial breakfast or dinner accompaniment. Metal containers yielded superior outcomes than glass because they heated more uniformly. This method vanished as coffee packaging shifted to plastic and vacuum-sealed bags. Instant pudding pies. When Jell-O launched instant pudding in 1950, resourceful housewives immediately envisioned beyond the package directions. By slightly decreasing the milk and adding whipped cream or Cool Whip, they produced airy pie fillings within minutes. A graham cracker base plus chocolate pudding equaled instant French silk pie. Vanilla pudding combined with sliced bananas filled a pastry shell for imitation banana cream. The brilliance lay in the measurements. Using 1 cup of milk rather than 2 produced thicker consistency, ideal for pies. Some adventurous cooks stacked different varieties or added extracts for customized creations. These pies firmed up in just 30 minutes of refrigeration. No heating, no tempering eggs, no danger of curdling. Working mothers particularly welcomed this shortcut for creating bakery-style desserts on weeknights. The method also succeeded for parfaits and trifles. Modern cooks frequently miss instant pudding's adaptability beyond simple children's cups. Which of these lost methods surprised you most? Foil-lined broiler pans. The straightforward act of covering broiler pans with aluminum foil transformed kitchen cleanup. Heavy-duty foil shaped perfectly to the perforated top rack and drip tray beneath, capturing every splash and drop. After broiling steaks or chops, the foil lifted away, leaving spotless pans underneath. This wasn't merely about cleanliness. The foil genuinely enhanced cooking. Its mirror-like surface reflected heat upward, producing more uniform browning. Housewives learned they could fashion a foil tent over foods to avoid excessive browning while the interior cooked completely. The drip pan foil gathered valuable meat liquids for gravy preparation. Some cooks crimped the borders to form a seal, essentially converting the pan into a covered roaster. Reynolds Wrap became a kitchen necessity, with manufacturers printing broiler guidance directly on the package. The time-conserved scrubbing burned-on residue gave occupied mothers valuable additional moments. Current non-stick pans make this appear needless, but foil lining stays unmatched for simple cleanup. Pilot light dough proofing. Gas ovens with constantly burning pilot lights offered the ideal proofing chamber for bread dough. The mild warmth, typically around 80 to 85 degrees, established perfect circumstances for yeast development. Housewives would merely position their draped bowl of dough on the center shelf, and the pilot light sustained steady temperature without air currents. This reliable environment meant foreseeable rise periods and improved texture. Some bakers positioned a pan of hot water on the lower rack for additional humidity. The approach functioned throughout all seasons, removing uncertainty about locating a warm area that fluctuated with weather. Electric oven owners attempted duplicating this by briefly warming the oven, then shutting it off, but nothing equaled the pilot light's constant warmth. Overnight rises became reliable. Dough could proof gradually for heightened flavor without excessive rising. When energy efficiency removed pilot lights in the 1980s, home bakers forfeited this handy feature. Modern proofing demands more attention to temperature management. Cream of tartar meringues. That puzzling white powder in the spice cupboard contained the key to sky-high meringues that never wept or deflated. Just an eighth teaspoon of cream of tartar per egg, white, reinforced the foam architecture, forming glossy peaks that maintained their form for hours. The acid reduced the pH, permitting proteins to unwind and connect more efficiently. Housewives discovered this technique yielded meringues that could rest on pies without deteriorating, even in damp conditions. The cream of tartar also generated finer texture and avoided overbeating. Some bakers incorporated it into angel food cakes for additional height and stability. The timing was crucial. Adding it too soon hindered foaming, too late and it couldn't perform its function. Combined with gradual sugar incorporation, this produced show-stopping pavlovas and baked Alaska. Contemporary recipes frequently swap in vinegar or lemon juice, but neither equals cream of tartar's dependability. This pantry essential converted unpredictable egg whites into reliable dessert toppings. Baking soda for beans. A quarter teaspoon of baking soda in the soaking or cooking liquid converted dried beans from an all-day undertaking to a practical meal. The alkaline setting softened rigid bean coverings and decreased cooking duration by nearly half. Navy beans that typically required 3 hours became soft in 90 minutes. The science was straightforward. Baking soda decomposed pectin in the cellular walls, permitting water to enter faster. This technique particularly assisted with aged beans that appeared to cook endlessly without softening. Housewives found it also diminished the gas-creating compounds, rendering beans more digestible. The secret was restraint. Excessive soda transformed beans mushy and imparted a soapy flavor. Some cooks incorporated it into the soaking liquid, then employed fresh water for cooking. This approach functioned for all pulses from chickpeas to black-eyed peas. Pressure cooking has primarily substituted this technique, but it stays helpful for stovetop preparation. Consider that time conservation for occupied families. Taming acidic tomato sauce. When tomato sauce tasted excessively sharp or acidic, intelligent cooks grabbed the baking soda container instead of sugar. Just a minuscule pinch, perhaps an eighth teaspoon for an entire pot, counteracted surplus acid without introducing sweetness. The chemical interaction produced brief bubbling as acid encountered alkaline. Then the sauce mellowed gorgeously. This technique rescued sauces prepared from especially tart tomatoes or canned items with citric acid. Unlike sugar, which merely concealed acidity with sweetness, baking soda genuinely altered the pH. The outcome was a fuller, more harmonious flavor that permitted the tomato character to emerge. Excessive amounts generated a disagreeable metallic flavor, so cooks mastered adding minuscule quantities and tasting cautiously. This approach also succeeded for tomato soup and even fresh tomato preparations. Italian grandmothers transmitted this secret across generations. Modern cooks frequently don't recognize this straightforward solution exists, automatically grabbing for sugar instead. Wax paper cake, pan liners. Before parchment paper became widespread, wax paper functioned as the primary pan liner for flawless cake removal. Housewives outlined pan bases onto wax paper, trimmed exact circles, and smoothed them flat. The wax finish prevented adhering while permitting uniform browning. For layer cakes, this assured professional-appearing outcomes every time. The paper separated cleanly, leaving smooth surfaces prepared for frosting. Some bakers also trimmed strips for pan walls, particularly for tall cakes or fragile sponges. The wax paper required greasing on both surfaces, pan surface to remain positioned, cake surface to detach. This additional step appeared meticulous, but avoided the disappointment of adhered cakes. Angel food and chiffon cakes especially gained from this method. Wax paper cost pennies per application compared to flouring pans and potentially sacrificing cake bases. The approach demanded more setup time, but yielded reliable outcomes. Current bakers frequently bypass this essential step, depending on non-stick sprays that don't consistently perform. Share your favorite recollection of these traditional cooking approaches in the comments below. Sift and mix dry goods. The flour sifter wasn't merely kitchen ornament, it was vital equipment for delicate, tender-baked items. Sifting flour before measuring eliminated clumps and added air, producing fluffier cakes and biscuits. The procedure also guaranteed precise measurements, since sifted flour occupied more space than compressed. Housewives mastered sifting flour, baking powder, salt, and cocoa collectively, spreading leavening uniformly throughout. This avoided clusters of baking soda that triggered bitter areas or irregular rising. For delicate cakes, they'd sift 3 rounds for maximum aeration. The rhythmic cranking became meditative, a period of peace in occupied kitchens. Sifting also disclosed any unwelcome visitors in the flour. Weevils couldn't conceal from the fine screen. Some recipes explicitly specified 1 cup sifted flour versus 1 cup flour sifted. The sequence mattered for accurate amounts. Modern pre-sifted flour makes this appear needless, but nothing entirely replaces manual sifting for premium outcomes. Potato chip casserole crust. Crushed potato chips combined with melted butter formed an ingenious casserole covering that provided both crispness and taste. This 1950s innovation converted everyday chips into a gourmet-appearing finish. The typical ratio was 2 cups crushed chips to 3 tablespoons butter distributed over casseroles during the final 15 minutes of baking. The fats in the chips assisted them brown attractively while remaining crispy. Housewives experimented with various chip varieties, barbecue chips on poultry casseroles, sour cream and onion on beef preparations. The method also succeeded with cornflakes, crackers, or French-fried onions. Some cooks incorporated herbs or cheese for additional flavor. The chip covering removed the necessity for separate breadcrumb assembly while utilizing partial packages. Children particularly enjoyed this crispy surface, making vegetable casseroles more attractive. The approach furnished textural variety to creamy fillings beneath. Current cooks might regard this too processed, overlooking an effortless flavor and texture enhancement. Evaporated milk icebox treats. Canned evaporated milk became the hidden ingredient for no-churn ice creams and refrigerator confections. When partially frozen until slushy, then whipped, it formed a mousse-like foundation for frozen delights. Combined with fruit, chocolate, or coffee, these icebox desserts competed with purchased ice cream. The elevated milk solid concentration meant smoother consistency than regular milk-based frozen treats. Housewives learned that incorporating gelatin produced stable refrigerator cakes that sliced attractively. Lemon icebox pie employed evaporated milk for the filling, removing raw eggs. The milk's concentrated proteins whipped to remarkable volume when sufficiently cold. Some recipes merged whipped evaporated milk with whipped cream for additional richness. These confections needed no cooking and minimal components, ideal for hot summers without air conditioning. The completed items lasted for days in the refrigerator or freezer. Depression-era cooks formulated these recipes when fresh cream was limited. Modern ice cream machines have mostly displaced this method, though it still yields outstanding outcomes. Condensed soup as gravy. Why prepare gravy from scratch when a can of condensed soup furnished instant sauce? Cream of mushroom became company gravy when diluted with pan drippings and a splash of wine. Cream of chicken converted into poultry gravy with merely broth and seasonings. This wasn't indolence, but wise time administration. The condensed soups possessed properly proportioned thickening components, removing lumpy flour and fat ratio problems. A can of French onion soup plus beef drippings formed restaurant-quality au jus. Golden mushroom soup became stroganoff sauce with sour cream mixed in. The sodium level actually amplified meat flavors when employed prudently. Housewives maintained several types on hand for different meats and events. The thickness was reliable. No more excessively thin or gluey gravies. Incorporating herbs, wine, or cream raised these basic foundations into sophisticated sauces. This method preserved valuable moments during holiday meal gatherings when every burner was filled. Imagine that convenience during Thanksgiving dinner gatherings. Broiler quick grapefruit. Beginning the day with broiled grapefruit became a 1950s breakfast tradition that merged nutrition with refinement. Halved grapefruit dusted with brown sugar and a pat of butter went beneath the broiler for 3 minutes until bubbling and caramelized. The heat converted tart fruit into a warm, sweet-tangy delight that felt special enough for guests. Some variations added cinnamon, nutmeg, or a splash of sherry for adults. The broiling procedure softened the fruit and released segments for simple eating. Maraschino cherries in the middle contributed color and sweetness. This method functioned year-round since broiling enhanced even out-of-season fruit. The assembly required less than 5 minutes total, making it feasible for rushed mornings. Presented in specialized grapefruit bowls with serrated spoons, it raised simple fruit to dining establishment quality. The natural fruit bowl meant no dishes to clean. This wholesome breakfast choice delivered vitamin C and fiber while fulfilling sweet desires. Mayonnaise cake hack. The most improbable ingredient produced the moistest chocolate cakes. Mayonnaise substituted eggs, oil, and butter in one wonderful addition. During rationing, when eggs were limited, creative bakers found that mayonnaise's emulsified oil and eggs yielded incredibly soft cakes. 3/4 cup of mayo replaced 3 eggs and half a cup of oil flawlessly. The vinegar in mayonnaise stimulated baking soda for additional rise, while contributing subtle tang that amplified chocolate taste. These cakes remained moist for days, genuinely enhancing with time. The consistency was silky, never dry or crumbly. Doubters couldn't identify the hidden ingredient, only remarkable moistness. The recipe combined in one bowl with merely a spoon. No creaming or beating needed. Depression-era cooks transmitted this technique through families, pledging everyone to confidentiality. Commercial bakeries subsequently embraced this approach for shelf-stable items. Even currently, this hack yields superior results to many conventional recipes. Let that register. Condiment producing superior cakes than traditional approaches. Thanks for accompanying us on this journey back in time, discovering these 25 brilliant kitchen techniques. If you appreciated the video, give it a like and share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe.